Hi there, this is Bruce Gowers on Two Guys Talking Rush. Tune in, don't forget.
Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
Yeah! Hi, I'm Donna Halper. But you know that. Now here's something you might not know. It's the 1-year anniversary of Two Guys Talking Rush. Will you join me in giving it up for Two Guys Talking Rush? Happy anniversary, guys!
Two guys are talking, rush 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 two guys.
And now, get ready for the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast with your hosts, John Kane and Dan Buxton. Hey folks, my name's John Kane, and this is the delightful Dan Buxton, and welcome to episode 49, possibly 50, of the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast. This ain't no Two Guys Talking Supertramp, however, that would be cool. It's two guys talking the incredibly iconic Rush. So listen in, folks, and discover the best damn Rush podcast in the entire Solar Federation. Two Guys Talking Rush. Dan, are you a Supertramp fan?
I do enjoy the music of Supertramp. Not all of it, but they have some, Breakfast in America.
That's great.
If someone has a problem with that, then they have a mental disorder and must, need medical attention immediately. In my opinion.
Yeah. I like Supertramp. I think it's just the sound, and it's so clean, and the production's so clean.
They have a really distinct thing. Like, I can't really compare them to, there are like little similarities here and there, but they have their own they have their lane, and it's cool.
And here we are talking about Supertramp on a Rush podcast.
Immediately. First thing we do is talk about something else.
Exactly. We'd like to fuck with our fans, No, folks, we're here to talk about Rush. We got a killer show for you, and I'm really psyched to be here. And Dan, we've made it to episode 49. How's your summer going?
It's going great.
I have to ask you, man.
That's all I'm going to say. It's great.
Okay, good.
It's been a real tit flapper. That's what I'll say.
Oh, I like that. A couple of fried eggs on a nail, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. Some good shirt potatoes happening.
A couple of tube socks hanging.
Exactly. Yeah.
I get it, man. I get it. A couple of tube socks hanging from a nail.
Oh yeah.
Hey, listen. Blame Warner Brothers on those visuals, guys.
It's not us. We're the victims.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, hey, Rush fans, our Rush fan base, thank you so much for tuning in to this very weird podcast. Whatever you do, tune in, dial in, download in. What do you call it when you kind of,
smoke signals?
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, listen, just a reminder, in mid-2020, during a major pandemic, I decided to create a podcast for our favorite Rush band, Rush. And when I realized I couldn't do it alone and I needed a sidekick, I thought long and hard about that. And that's when I reached out to my good friend, music scholar and author and huge Rush fan, the delightful Dan Buxton. He's my Ed McMahon, my Andy Richter, the best co-host one could ask for. And thank you for saying yes, Dan. I really mean that.
It's been great, and I'm happy to be Chewbacca to your Han Solo. Exactly, yeah. No, it's been great. It's completely exceeded my expectations, and just keep right on doing it.
Yeah, don't ask for a raise though, because I just don't. There's no budget.
Well, yeah. A 10% raise will be remarkably similar to what I'm getting now. So,
I know.
Yeah, but that's not why we're here anyway.
I know. Speaking of Andy Richter, I think Conan. I love you and I share mutual. We actually have a lot of similar tastes, and Conan O'Brien was one of them, and I think he has a podcast too. I have to like.
Oh,
I think it's pretty good. I have to check that out. Anyway, I'm a huge Conan fan, so I was sad to see him go.
Like in this day and age, I think it's like you just have to have a podcast. Like whoever you are, you must have a podcast, or you're not somebody.
But it's like Conan O'Brien Unleashed.
Yeah.
That's what you want, because he's
Mhm.
very, very funny. Well, hey, why all the hoopla, you might ask? Well, on July 16th, 2020, Bastille Day, episode 1 of the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast. Go ahead.
July 14th.
July 14th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I looked at when we launched it. July 16th was the day it went active.
Okay.
We recorded it on the 14th. Thank you for the correction.
You're welcome.
Oh, episode 1 of the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast became a reality. And here we are, almost 30,000 downloads later, and a legion of fans. We want to thank you for all your kind words and expressions of gratitude. Dan and I are glad to do this, and we have a lot of fun doing it. It's our 1-year anniversary on Two Guys Talking Rush. Happy birthday to Two Guys Talking Rush. It didn't exist before last year. Cue applause. Three Stooges happy birthday song, if there is one. I'm assuming there is. Well, anyway, remember, folks, this show is hosted by fans for fans, and our listeners know we are inclusive. Each week, we try to mix it up with guests and content, and we want fans to join us on this magnificent journey. And before I forget, I want to thank our guests on episode 47 and 48, the legendary Canadian record producer David Bottrell, who was responsible for Rush's remix of the 2002 Vapor Trails album. He was a great guest and a super guy. And I actually, Dan, I heard, well, first off, what did you think of Bottrell and his reflections on remixing?
Well, I've always had I'm going to say this. I've had my tit in a ringer a little bit about, some people's reaction to the original mix of Vapor Trails. I like it. I like it fine.
What are you, from the 1920s? I've had my tit in a ringer.
Yeah, tit in a ringer. Yeah. No, but I mean, he did good work on it, and the band chose him to do it. So I mean, whatever I think of, was this better or was this better? It's not really that relevant. What he came out with, to me, is like a perfectly good companion to the original album. I will never give up on the original mix ever, but what he did is good. It's solid, and I see that people like it much more than they like the original mix, so it's cool.
Try finding that on vinyl. Very difficult. I even, because in order to set that interview up, I had been talking to David's publicist, and they don't even have a copy of the damn album.
Right,
So,
yeah.
well, I did hear back from David's publicist, and she said, thank you, after the podcast, she said, thank you so much for including David in your podcast. I just had a listen, and you did such a great job interviewing him. It's really refreshing when somebody comes with great questions and well prepared. And that really made me feel great. And that's what we're all about on the show. So we just try to maintain that sort of integrity, right? Well, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
you didn't ask him what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
I didn't.
No, you asked him relevant stuff that matters. Which I'm sure he was pleased about.
Well, I really didn't ask him about the weather where he was, and then sort of talked about the weather where I was, and then we were 15 minutes on the weather. I cut all that out, and I just gave the folks what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
But as a reminder, you can hear our podcast on TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Simplecast, and many others, most podcasting platforms. The show is also recorded in video, so you can please check out our video recordings of Two Guys Talking Rush on our YouTube channel, and please click subscribe. A lot of folks don't know that we do that, and it's sort of not part of the podcast, but it does enhance the experience, especially for shows that require visuals or anything that we have visual reference towards anything. So the YouTube channel is there for you if you're interested in checking us out. I want to give a quick Rush Radio shout out. Great audio service, Rush Radio on the TuneIn app. You can also check out rushradio.org. A big thank you to Ed Stinger at rushisaband.com. We love Rush as a Band, as well as the Power Windows website, 2112.net. Check them out. Yep. Ed Stinger, the mighty Ed Stinger. We love him. Another quick shout out to Why Not. Their music can be heard in our show's intro. An incredible band. And of course, Rush fans, we want to hear from you. If you have any comments, suggestions, ideas, or questions about the show, please submit them to us. And, we'd like to hear from you. Email us at two guys, talkingrush@gmail. We're always looking for super fans for our Rush Superfan Spotlight. We've had a lot of them on our show.
Yeah.
What is a superfan? What makes you a superfan? Email us. Tell us why you think you are a Rush superfan. Visit us at www.twoguystalkingrush.com, facebook.com/twoguystalkingrush, and twitter.com/2guystalkrush. Again, our Two Guys Talking Rush YouTube channel, and you can support our podcast monthly if you wish. It's a big help if you can on patreon.com/2guystalkingrush. Every little bit counts to keep the podcast going. Well, Dan, you and I have been talking about this, and of course, most people in the Rush community have been. We want to dedicate this episode not only to our 1-year anniversary, but also dedicate this episode to Geddy Lee's mom, Mary Weinrib, who recently passed on July 2nd, just a few weeks shy of her 96th birthday. Her funeral was held at the Bathurst Lawn Memorial Park in Toronto. Rush fans got to know Mary through her appearance in the 2010 documentary Rush Beyond the Lighted Stage, and most recently her appearance on Dave and Virginia Grohl's From Cradle to Stage docuseries just last month, where she described her incredible Holocaust survival story. This is from her obituary, and I'm going to read this. Manya Malka Rubinstein was born 1925 in Warsaw and grew up in Wierzbnik, a Jewish shtetl. Shtetl. Almost, I got it. That was part of the Stachowicz, Poland. Am I saying that incorrectly?
Maybe.
Okay, which was occupied by the Germans beginning in 1939. Mary endured the labor camp at the munitions factory in Stachowicz and the concentration camps at Auschwitz, where she met and fell in love with her husband, Morris Weinrib, and at Bergen-Belsen, where she was finally liberated in April 1945. Reunited and married in 1946, Mary and Morris emigrated to Canada. After her husband Morris's sudden death in 1965, Mary was left with 3 young children in a variety store that her husband had owned and managed. Mary was determined to learn the business, and against the advice of well-meaning friends, she took over managing their store in Newmarket, and she successfully ran the business until she retired. People were drawn to her zest for life, her sense of humor, and her compassion and generous spirit. There's a customer for everything, Mary would say, and if you couldn't find it at Times Square discount, you didn't need it. Preparing family meals at Rosh Hashanah and Passover was a large-scale labor of love for Mary, who cherished her family above all. And after full days of running the store, Mary would cook and bake over several nights, making everybody's favorite dishes and desserts. The mother of Rush bass player and lead singer Geddy Lee, Mary was an early supporter and fixture at Rush concerts. When the first Rush album was released, Mary plastered the windows of her store with Rush posters and gave albums away to any kids who wanted them but didn't have the money to buy them. Among the longest living Holocaust survivors, Mary lived to see her family grow and prosper. Wow.
Yeah, that is an epic, incredible. That's an epic journey.
That's
right
a
there.
super epic journey, man.
Yeah.
Oh my, wow. Well, Geddy Lee is active on his Instagram page, as most Rush fans know, and as he writes, suddenly she was gone from all the lives she left her mark upon. Mary Manya Weinrib, July 16th, 1925, July 2nd, 2021. Rest in peace, Mom. So our condolences go out to Geddy and the rest of Mary's family and friends. Just to let folks know, the family's asking for donations in Mary Weinrib's honor may be made to the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies. You can find that online. Again, that's the Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies. Rest in peace, Mary, and just maybe a moment of silence. All right. Well, moving on, and Geddy, if you ever listen to this podcast, man, my sympathies go out to you, brother. Yeah. Our going back to 1 year ago, almost to the day, because the 14th is when we recorded Bastille Day, and then we launched it on the 16th. So we're right in between that pocket of time, almost a year ago, our 1 year anniversary of Two Guys Talking Rush. Our very first guest was Donna Halper. Yep. I can't say enough about Donna Halper, and just reflecting on, even I've known her even before the podcast. She's a longtime friend, and I think I've known her about 12, 13 years now. She sat on my doctoral committee. She read my dissertation. She's been a mentor, and she's a mentor to a lot of people. You know,
Yeah.
she's just very, very giving, and she's just someone you want in your corner. You know, and she's so full of life and so full of wonderful knowledge. It's just a pleasure to know Donna Halper. And as you know, I mean, I think most Rush fans know her legacy as it relates to the Rush family and the Rush story. Well, Donna Halper is here with us today briefly. She's here to reflect on this past year, the recent passing of Geddy Lee's mom, and anything else she'd like to share with us for a brief time. So welcome, Donna Halper. Donna.
Hey, how
Hey,
are you?
hey, how are you? How are
Hey,
you? How
Donna.
are you? How are
Happy
you?
to be walking around. How about you?
Very
Well,
good.
I feel good about walking around. I walked around today. Dan, did you?
I've walked to various rooms in my house, and I was like doing a lot of work, but I walked to the living room, and then I walked back to the bedroom, and then I walked to where the TV was. So yeah.
Dan, name 3 songs that have walking in the title.
Walking After Midnight, Walk This Way, or do you want Walking specifically?
How about I'm walking? Is that a song? I'm walking down the
Yes,
street.
indeed.
I'm talking.
walking. Yes, yeah, Ricky Nelson.
Domino classic.
Yes,
right.
yes,
So is this y'all's first year anniversary?
yes.
What have you learned in 1 year of doing Two Guys Talking Rush?
Dan, you first.
Nothing. We've not learned anything. No, I've learned
That's true. I don't think that's true at all.
that's true. No, I've learned that Rush fans are like probably the nicest, most giving of their time people that you're ever going to meet. All of them have the right priorities with this because it is all about the music with them, and it's all about sharing the music with them. It's a great community, and I'm someone who's like not a real like community type of person. But I feel like we've been sort of embraced by them and accepted by them. And that means a lot to me because I don't think they would embrace or accept us if they didn't think we were for real. You know, they would be able to sniff us out pretty quickly if we were not real fans. So yeah, I mean, really what I've learned is, these people are for real and they mean it and they're here for only the right reasons. That's what I would say I've learned.
How about you, John?
Well, thank you. I've learned, most distinctly 2 very important things. One is the Rush universe is vastly growing. It is expansive and getting bigger. And I suspect it's because Rush are no longer. It's almost equatable to Grateful Dead, this epic lifestyle, this epic connectedness that the Rush family has. Secondly, I produce these shows. I schedule the guests. I'm not necessarily an expert on every topic that we have. I let the guests roll with it, and I sort of guide them along, ask questions. After each episode and each topic, I learn even more about how significant Rush, how much more impact they've had on society, politics, religion, whatever the topic may be, and also just the trade that these people are in. People who have worked behind the scenes, in the mixing, behind the mixing console, whomever. Just it's ongoing. I've learned so much. I could just go on and on and on about it. It's been wonderful. I've had such a good time. I'm so glad this is we're at the 50th episode and we're at 1 year. It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Donnie,
I hope you don't mind that I asked. I wasn't trying to
No,
take
not at all.
over your show.
finally, somebody asked us a question.
Yeah, right.
But no, as a media historian, one of the things I always think is useful, and also as a public speaker, is to just kind of look back on where have you been, where have you gone, where do you want to go? And when you first started this, did you think that you would still be here a year later? Because I have a vague recollection of talking to you about this, John, and you were saying to him, we'll do a few episodes and we'll just there you are. And here you are a year later, which I think is just so excellent. And Baby Yoda and I are very impressed.
Excellent.
Okay? Baby Yoda in particular.
We didn't set out to be like, we're going to do X number of episodes. But, John and I, we both kind of understand how things work well enough to go like, let's see how it goes. We want this to go for a long time and be successful and all that sort of thing, but let's see what happens. And it's been easy to do. That's not to say it's not a lot of work, and that's not to say, scheduling and all that sort of thing isn't a challenge sometime or whatever, but it's every episode basically has been a delight. It's easy to be here and easy to talk to people, and everyone comes on for the right reason, I feel like.
Well, if you look back at our roster of guests, we have consistently had guests on every episode. We have long episodes that no one has. We thought in the beginning that if we had longer episodes, longer treatments, people might not like that because folks just like the quick and easy, 1 hour, 45 minutes in and out. But Rush weren't like that, and so our fan base is expecting long, epic details. And, we're proud of the fact that we've been able to have really, really good guests, super intelligent people. Additionally, we've had so many wonderful fans on the show. We want more fans to be on our show. We're total fan inclusive. Dan and I, it's just a reflection of who we are. Both Dan and I are fans. The show began on that sort of foundation, and that's been wonderful. I had a fan in the UK. He goes, John, I heard you didn't have these 2 albums. He sent me 2. He sent me Roll the Bones and Presto. It would have cost me a fortune. I couldn't afford them. He sent them to me with a nice note. I mean, I almost broke down in tears. It's like such a wonderful gesture. And this is somebody who doesn't know me. He listens to the podcast. The podcasts make him feel good. And that's such a rewarding feeling. People write to me and say, or write to Dan and I and just say, your podcast really makes me feel good. What if some folks say they binge listen to our podcast? Yeah. We hear that a lot. And it's great. It means that we're doing something right, Donna. And you're part of that.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is very cool is the number of people who reach out to me from all over the world. Okay. I think that it is just a testament to this band that they have fans in countries where English is not the first language. And some people are like, well, yeah, so what? It's rock and roll. Yeah, but it's Neil. Okay. And some of the lyrics, you're talking metaphors, similes, imagery that just you would have had to read X, Y, and Z. And people, I said this at my Hollywood Walk of Fame speech. There are people who have learned English just so that they could appreciate Rush lyrics. Right. I just had someone talking to me about that like 2 days ago from Latin America. And he was like, oh yeah, just got my little dictionary. But he said, like, the more I studied English, and I'm like, yeah. And the fact that you would do that just for Rush, what a testament to this band.
Absolutely. Donna, I see you everywhere now. I see you on all sorts of podcasts talking about different subjects.
Am I overexposed?
Not at all.
Sounds vaguely obscene.
Slightly, but no, I maybe some doors have opened up for you as well. This is a great format for you, and I see you all over. And if
I think actually what's opened up for all of us is the pandemic. One of the downsides of the pandemic was that we all got stuck at home. Yes. One of the upsides was programs still had to go on, and they needed guests. And if the guests couldn't get to the studio, Zoom or Skype or whatever. So to that degree, it has brought a whole bunch of people who you never would have seen or heard before because they would have had to get to the studio. And now the studio comes to you. So I think that's not just me. I think you're seeing a whole bunch of people that maybe you wouldn't have seen otherwise because there was a need, there was an opportunity, and here we all are. So that's been a good thing.
I suspect we'll be writing about this and analyzing this for years to come. Yeah, dissertations.
Now, speaking of dissertations, I'm on a deadline to finish an article. Okay. So I did want to you asked me to come on and talk about one thing that a lot of people have been asking me about this past couple of weeks, which is not the reason I ever want to come on a podcast or a webcast, but I do want to take a minute to let the fans know how Geddy's family are doing. And the truth is, how can you be doing? Right. I mean, they were a very close family. And even if you have a family member who is in their 90s, like Geddy's mother was, and even if the person has been ill, who wants to lose a mother? Who wants to lose a father like Neil's family just went through? Who wanted to lose Neil?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a cliche, but it's a fact. If you've got your health, you got everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what good is it if you got $1 million, but all the money's going to your doctors? Okay. So I think that what is helping Getty's family to get through right now is that they are very close, and is that they know that the fans love them and that the fans are lifting them up in any one of a number of ways. People are doing charity in memory of Getty's mom. People are making donations. People are doing random acts of kindness, which we could all do a lot more of in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, they're doing okay. But like I said, who wants to lose a mom?
Yeah.
And in the case of Mary, I had the privilege of meeting her and spending time with her during the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. I got to meet Getty's sister. We keep in touch on a pretty regular basis. It's a privilege to be part of the Rush family. I do not in any way want to imply that I'm like really, really close with the Weinrib family. I am not, but I do know them. I know what wonderful people they are. I've had the privilege of spending time with them. And if there's anything that any of us can say or do at this moment, the only thing that heals at a time like this is time. And as time passes, you get to deal with it a little bit better, but it just hasn't. It has not been easy.
We've dedicated this episode to Ged's mom, and I'm just curious, what type of we read before you came on, we read her obituary, and what an incredible story,
Yeah,
her life has
Holocaust
been.
survivor.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, her attitude, and I'm not speaking for her. I mean, she's said this in print. Her attitude was that surviving and having a good life was the best revenge.
Yeah.
Okay. Every single day that she was successful, had successful children, had a successful business, had a family that loved her, was another day that she could just say to Hitler. Okay.
Va fun cool.
Pretty much in the Yiddish version thereof.
Yes, exactly.
Because the truth is, they tried to wipe us out.
Yep.
And still here.
Yep.
So that was how she was looking at it. And she lived to see her kids grow up to be healthy and happy. She lived to grow up to see grandchildren, to see them go to college and have good lives. She lived to see so much in her life that she wasn't supposed to see. And yet, she was a survivor, and she was a survivor in many ways. She was one tough customer, okay? You didn't want to get on her bad side, if you know what I'm saying. She loved her family, and she would stand up for her family. She would defend her family, and her family felt the same way based on what I saw. They really, really loved her. And it's like, yeah, everybody says that about their mom or about their dad. Well, no, not actually. Because a lot of times it's all for show. We've all seen people in the industry that have a public face where they're one way, and then you meet them in private and it's like, ew.
Yep.
But Rush were never like that. What you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
Neil was very protective of his parents, okay? Getty, Alex, same deal. Now, did they always get along? Of course not. Name me parents you always get along with, only in movies, okay? But in the real world, there was a bond. And Getty's mom didn't quite understand at first. If you saw the documentary, that was no BS. She didn't quite understand why her kid wanted to drop out of high school and go be a rock and roll musician. And he did promise her that if he had kids, they would go to college. And he kept his promise. He has like one kid with a master's degree and one kid with a PhD. Okay then. But my point is, she became his biggest fan and supporter. Did she love rock and roll at the beginning? did she become like, oh boy, I know all the lyrics to all the, no, but she loved her son. And
She didn't
knew,
disown him.
yeah, oh, I
Yeah.
know. But she knew this was what he wanted. Same deal with Glenn, okay? Glenn Peart, same deal. I mean, it was like, wouldn't you be happier if you like, worked in the family hardware store? Well, no, he wouldn't be happier because that wasn't Neil's dream. And I blogged about this. In the end, sometimes the best thing you can do as a parent, or if you're not a parent, a sibling, a mentor, sometimes you got to let your kids go. You can teach them when they're young. You can keep them out of harm's way when they're little and they don't understand stuff. But by the time they get to be adults,
You're on your
you
own.
got to give them a chance to follow their dream,
Absolutely.
even if that dream isn't yours.
Right.
And I give Glenn and Mary and all the Rush parents and all of the musician parents out there a tremendous amount of credit for having the courage and having the love to just say, I don't totally understand why
Right.
this matters to you, but I know that it matters to you. Go. I will be nothing but supportive. And when I was at the Rock Hall induction, there was nobody applauding louder than Getty's mom, okay? And that was it. It's like, if mama's happy, everyone's happy. When she said, oh, isn't it wonderful that you've been inducted? Suddenly the band was like, yeah, it's great we've been inducted. Yeah, absolutely. Where before it was like, they don't want to induct us. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. But when their parents got excited about it, yeah,
What a gift.
got excited too.
What
And
a gift.
it was a beautiful thing to see. I'm glad that Getty's mom and Neil's dad lived to see those moments. And Neil's mom, who's still with us. Betty is just such a wonderful person. Okay. That entire family, the Peart family, they have been through so much. Okay. Neil's sister, who I've been in touch with a bunch of times, Nancy, what a nice person. Okay. This entire group of people are just nice people. And folks hear me saying that and they're like, yeah. No, I'm serious. They really are. You've met them. They're nice people. So I'm sorry that they are going through these tragedies. But on the other hand, they're not going through them alone. They are loved. They are admired. They are respected. And those of us that pray are keeping them in their prayers. Those that don't pray are out there just thinking good thoughts and putting that music out into the world where the next generation of fans can be as impressed with them as we were. Does that make any sense at all?
Yes,
Of course.
actually.
Absolutely. Donna, it's been such a pleasure having you on, and thank you for coming on for our 1 year anniversary of.
Thank you so
Talking
much.
Rush.
And I'm not going to embarrass you by singing happy anniversary. Plus you do not want to hear me sing.
I'm going to embarrass you by thanking you for coming on the show, especially our first show, and sort of giving us the push into this. That it's been great. And
I always believed in you guys. I always believed in you guys. Okay.
for me personally, and I know for John too, it meant a lot having you holding the champagne bottle to christen the ship. That
SS2GTR.
the SS2
Non-alcoholic
GTR.
champagne, folks.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Baby sham, as they call it. But no,
It's different from Baby Shark, but that's
exactly.
another story
Please,
for another day.
No, but
Don has had kids. He knows what I'm talking about.
yeah.
But,
No, but we're
but
really
all joking aside, I always believed in you guys. I always believed in your show. And I would have said that if I was on it or not on it. Okay. There are some wonderful shows that are on the air right now that are tributes to Rush, that are keeping the flame alive, that are keeping the fans feeling that sense of community. During COVID, that sense of community meant more than ever. And now, even after, now that many of us are vaccinated, Donna says, get vaccinated. I want to have lunch with you. I cannot have lunch with you. I have a compromised immune system. Please get vaccinated. End of public service announcement. That having been said, it is so great to get back out there, see people again, talk to people. And what they tell me repeatedly is these shows help them get through. These shows were part of that community that everyone needed. So there you go, guys. I love you. I appreciate you. And I speak for the fans in thanking you for doing what you do.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
All
The
right.
best.
The best. Donna was
Yeah.
just, having her on for the very first episode was just the right
I-
choice.
I feel like that really, like, you couldn't ask for a better way to, push the ship into the sea,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to get into fan mail right now, Dan.
Okay.
And we've had a few. I'm sort of pacing them out, reading
Yeah.
bits and pieces of them. But we have one here, and this might be a good sort of one way to do some detective work on the show is to dig deep, find guests. I'm interested in international Rush fans a lot,
Yes.
and someone had emailed us and suggested this person. I guess this is from Q Zhang, and he says a guest suggestion for 2GTR is Kaiser Kuo. Kaiser Kuo? Eloquent, intelligent, podcast savvy, funny, American as apple pie, but also the co-founder of China's first heavy metal band, Tang Dynasty.
Right, I've heard of him.
Yes. And I had two, and then I forgot. And then I looked him up, and I was like, oh wow, relatively anonymous in the USA, but massively famous guitar player in China. More to the point, he's a huge Rush head, never fails to mention Rush in interviews related to music, loves everything Rush, responsible for evangelizing early Rush to the early 90s metal scene in China. Find him on the Simika podcast. Could be a fun show if you ask him about Rush. So that'd be cool. I like getting suggestions from international fans about international
It would be
guests.
our first Asian guest if we were to get it.
I would like that.
We should
yeah.
get all the continents if we can.
Absolutely. I would love
Except
that.
Antarctica. I don't know about Antarctica, but
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. Rush tour news history for the month of July. In 1973, Rush were at Abbey Road Pub in Toronto, a pub in Canada, Ontario, Canada. Rush in 74 at Mahogany Rush. That must have been confusing. Rush and Mahogany Rush at Sarnia Arena in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. In 1984, Rush played the Forum in Montreal, Quebec on the Grace Under Pressure tour. In 93, Geddy Lee sang "Oh Canada" at the 64th Major League Baseball All-Star Game in Baltimore, Maryland. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
In 99, Geddy Lee appears on 2 albums released, Euphoria's debut album and Mother Earth's Blue, Green, Orange. 2002, Rush played the Tommy Hilfiger Theater at Jones Beach in Wantagh, New York on the Vapor Trails tour. In 2004, Double Light, parenthetical for Neil Peart, a tribute to Neil Peart after his family tragedies, was released on Assembly of the Wondrous Head. 2010, Rush played Molson Canadian Amphitheater in Toronto, Ontario on the Time Machine tour. In 2010, they play the Festival de Quebec in Quebec. Oh man, I'm just slaughtering that. In Quebec City, Quebec on the Time Machine tour. In 2014, the Audio Fidelity Sound Labs SACD Gold Disc Edition of Presto was released. 2015, Rush played the Maverick Center in Salt Lake City, Colorado on the R40 tour, R40 Live tour. The Nike commercial, A Short Guy, premiered where the main character joins a marathon wearing bib number 2112. Haha. 2015, Rush played the Scotiabank Saddle Dome in Calgary, Alberta on the R40 Live tour. In 2018, New World Man, covered by Dale Head, and the Mindwinder was released on Swing on the Rocks. Interesting. You know, what's funny is I always see Rush memes and Rush fans, like if they go to the deli and their receipt comes out as 2112, they're always posting that. Yeah. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
That'd be a good collection of photos to look at where that 2112 pops up, right?
Yeah.
Well, Rush news, flashback. July 2014, Rush 101, Canadian prog rockers are now a university course. Tiffin University in Tiffin, Ohio, This is from July 2014. This is our Rush News Flashback segment.
Yes.
Tiffin University in Tiffin, Ohio will be offering a new course this fall, the fall of 2014, titled Rush, Progressive Rock and Modern Society. Ooh, I'll take that course.
Yeah.
The course will explore the musical and cultural issues of the 1970s and 80s, according to the course instructor and adjunct professor Nathan Santos. Santos proposed the course and is designing the curriculum for the 2014-15 academic year. He said students in the special topics course are to analyze progressive rock along with its musical elements, lyrical themes, historical, social, and cultural content, and its significance within the development of popular music styles. The 15-week course. Wow, a 15-week course on Rush.
I'm all in.
Yes.
Where do I sign?
For 3 credits even. Already, it says here, it was already filling up, he said. The course is centered on the music and styles of Rush. Santos said students are to look at style changes the band went through over the years and how the bands withstand changes to continue to create music. Quote, "It is a good lesson for our students who are pursuing a career in the music field," he said. The band played an important part in our culture and heritage in the commercial music industry. End quote. Rush is the focus of the course, but also a starting point. He said other topics include literature, philosophy, politics, technology, songwriting, biographies, life on the road, and album covers. Santos has been teaching at Tiffin University since 1998, mostly music history. Quote, "I had always thought a course focused on Rush would be a great idea, but never had a chance to do it." End quote. He said, quote, "Rush is trying to communicate a message." End quote. He said, quote, he wants to take a look at where they were and how they got to where they went. And what an interesting thing. I'm thinking, like, imagine if Geddy or Alex or even Neil showed up with a fake mustache, just sat in on that course.
Yeah. I'm just auditing. Yeah.
You look kind of old to be in this class.
Shut up. I'm groovy.
Anyway, that's our Rush News flashback. In recent Rush news, Alex Lifeson on Making Music with Geddy Lee, Envy of None, and others in a new Ultimate Classic Rock interview. Ultimate Classic Rock posted more from their recent interview, Rush's Alex Lifeson. You should all check that out. The latest installment focused on whether Lifeson felt any urgency to make new music with his longtime friend and bandmate, Geddy Lee. Everybody knows that Alex has been making new music. And he says here, "We've talked about it, but we're not moving in any specific way right now." He says, "I have a lot of stuff going on, and he has stuff going on in his life. If we don't get together, that's fine." He says, "We talk to each other probably every other day. He's my absolute best friend and always was. That's not going to change. I know if we do sit down and start messing around, it'll be very casual over a cup of coffee. We'll see what happens. No urgency." He notes that both he and Geddy have been busy with other projects and spending time with their families. Lifeson's many musical side projects include writing a track with Rage Against the Machine, as we mentioned before, with Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello and Metallica's Kirk Hammett, and his new group Envy of None with Andy Curran and Maya Wynn. Lifeson explains that most of these side projects just start out because a friend asked him to provide some guitar parts for a song or two. And he says that's the way this Envy of None stuff started out with Andy Curran. He just asked me if I would kindly throw in some guitar and some music and that he'd been working on. I wasn't doing anything, and I said I'd love to. He said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And that grew. And Maya Wynn got involved. It took a whole different character, he says, and now it's become a big project for us. This has been sort of a resurgence these last few weeks. All things musical for me. It's not bad after being retired. I sort of come out of retirement, he says. He's laughing. I've been forced into being proactive with all this, but it's fun. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Next, we'll see what Geddy's up to, right? I'm hoping that Geddy gets on it.
Yeah,
I
I never considered those guys retired. I just assumed like they're taking a break and then eventually they'll figure out what their next move is going to be.
Yeah.
They're too good and they're too serious as musicians, I think, to just stop. I can't imagine them just not playing it.
Yeah. Well, Alex has been all over the news, Rush news. He was just asked in an interview whether he considered touring with Envy of None, which would be interesting to see Geddy in another band touring. Alex in another band touring. He says, "I haven't really considered playing live. It's been almost 6 years since the last Rush tour. after touring at that level for decades, not to mention the 6 years before that of spending weeks in small bars in small towns. He's not in a big hurry to get back on the road. I understand that. If something major happens, he says, with this new collaborators, Envy of None, and there's a chance to do a handful of specific shows, he would consider that. But the idea of a lengthy tour, either with Rush frontman Geddy Lee or Envy of None, is a different story. I don't think that's something that's in my cards, really, he says. But I imagine if he was to do anything with Envy of None, it would just be small theaters, smaller venues, you know.
I think a lot of Rush fans would still show up anyway, like past the capacity of like what the small, like they can say, we're just playing at a pub, but a lot of people are going to show up, I think, and all of them are going to be like, is Geddy here? You know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, Alex was also a guest on Eddie Trunk. I love Eddie Trunk. I listen to him all the time, and his Trunk Nation show on Sirius XM. Alex chatted with Eddie for close to 45 minutes about his many musical side projects, including Envy of None. And at one point, he was asked if he'd ever considered taking the project out on the road as well. And you know, it's an interesting interview. So check out some of these interviews that Alex, you know, has been doing. One question was, Alex has also put to rest any notion that Rush would ever continue without Neil Peart. He says there's no way Rush will ever exist again because Neil's not here to be part of it. That's not to say that we can't do other things or we can't do things that benefit our communities and all that. I have lots of plans for that sort of thing, but that don't necessarily include Geddy. So, you know, you can't continue Rush without it.
People need to stop asking, I think, because I mean, I've seen like 80 articles that are like Alex Lifeson, Rush will never tour again.
Yeah, Mike
Alex
Portnoy.
Lifeson, we will never tour again.
Yeah.
Alex, you know, it's like,
will Mike Portnoy join Rush? You know, that sort of stuff.
No, as it turns out, he will not.
Exactly.
We need to accept that it was what it was. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Alex is all over the place. He's also been very busy with his new Instagram page at The Real Lurkst, which he launched in conjunction with his alexlifeson.com website. The images he's been posting include his friend Metropolitan T-Con with his own Epiphone Alex Lifeson Access, okay? Along with a painting Alex did of T-Con for an upcoming Brush of Hope charity auction. He also posted several vintage photos of himself with his first electric guitar. It's really cool. A Kenora that Lucent Guitars is currently in the process of restoring. His very first guitar. So cool. Over the past several years, Rush has released 40th anniversary editions of several of their classic albums, including 2112, Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, and Permanent Waves. So it had been expected that they'd give Moving Pictures, which celebrated its 40th anniversary in February of 2021, a similar treatment as well. But after the 40th anniversary of the album's release came and went without any news of an anniversary box set, it led many fans to speculate whether there would be a 40th anniversary release this time, or perhaps if it would just be delayed until later of the year. According to some fans who attended a VIP meet and greet event for Hugh Syme's new art exhibit, it turns out that they will. Rush longtime album artist spoke to fans and confirmed that there would be a Moving Pictures 40th anniversary box set, which is good. And we've mentioned this in previous shows, but it's just a good reminder that there will be something new coming out. I have my box set for Permanent Waves. I haven't even opened it yet, so I'm probably gonna get the Moving Pictures box set. You know, I just have to. You know,
I don't see how you could not get. I mean, of course you're gonna get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, Alex Lifeson confirmed that the set was in the works at the tail end of the Eddie Trunk interview, which was my point about all this. So it is actually confirmed. So it's pretty safe to bet that the set will be released sometime closer to the holidays, of course. Yeah. Just in time to be put right under the old Hanukkah bush.
Yeah, maybe they'll release it at exactly the same time as the big Metallica box set that's coming out also, and it can be War of the Box Sets.
Oh boy, incredible. Yeah. Solo Drums of Canada has been commissioned to sell a small selection of Neil Peart snare drums used on various Rush tours over the past 25 years. 3 snare drums from the Bubba Gump collection are currently available for sale via Soul Drums from the Soul Drums website. It says here, for 20 years, Neil Peart and his drum technician, Lauren Gump Wheaton, were at the pinnacle of presenting the very best in rock drumming performance, known affectionately as Neil Bubba Peart. By bandmates and the stage crew family together, they became Bubba Gump. Through all the album concepts, the drum sets, the snare drums, the cymbals became the reference for the best in drumming design. Definitely check them out on the Soul Drums website. Yeah, some of the quality of the drums, the quality of the tools that Neil played on are just exquisite, man. I mean, if you look at the painting and the designs, right down to the symbols and the structure, the infrastructure he sat around, incredible stuff, man.
I would describe some of it as porn, like drummer porn.
It is drum porn, yeah, exactly.
Totally, yeah.
Absolutely.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing stuff that only the most elite drummer could afford or even justify owning. So for him, that makes perfect sense. A lesser drummer, I think, would have to like really strongly make the case, a sustained case, for why they deserve it.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Well, we had Mark Cunningham on a couple shows back. He was the organizer of Prague for Peert. Prague for Peert is back in the news. Just reminding folks, there's an up-and-coming 2-day charity concert event called Prague for Peert to be held at the North Court in Abington, Oxfordshire, featuring over a dozen. It sounds like it's like where elves live, like hobbits live,
in the
right?
Shire.
It really is. Yeah. Jesus, I want to go there.
There is some Tolkien in some early Rush, like the Necromancer.
You're right.
And there are some hobbity turns every so often on some of the early records.
Hobbity,
yes, exactly. Hobbity.
Of Hobbit, of being
Hobbit, yes, exactly. Hobbitesque.
Well, yeah. Anyway, this event is featuring over a dozen progressive rock bands with the goal to raise funds to combat glioblastoma, the disease that claimed the life of Neil Peart. Due to the delay in lifting of COVID restrictions, the event organizers had been forced to postpone from July to August. Just as a reminder, the event had been originally scheduled to take place the weekend of July 2nd through 3rd, but will now happen August 13th through 14th. That's coming up. So definitely check that out. And if you're in that area, because I know we have a lot of UK fans, if you want tickets, go to www.northcourtmusic.com, www.northcourt-4-Peart, and you can get your tickets. The St. Louis Science Center hosted a series of classic rock laser light shows over the last couple of weeks in the McDonald Planetarium, and one of the albums featured was Rush's 2112, which must have been a blast.
Did you ever go to those planetarium laser shows
at the Museum of Science? In the definitely Dark Side of the Moon was the one I went.
Yeah, I went to Laser Floyd at the Hayden Planetarium when I was like 13, and the kid sitting next to me was sniffing Rush. You remember that old
the brown bottle? Oh,
yeah,
man. What was that?
Like make you. It was just like some chemical that would make you like dizzy and nauseous. But to like a 12-year-old, it's like, I'm high for the first time, because they don't know any better. But yeah, I think a lot of people had their first drug experiences snorting that shit under, at laser. Yes.
Imagine if you went to that like now and that same kid was there, but just now older doing the same thing.
Yeah, and like bald and I never gave up, man. I'm holding the flag, man. You sold out.
I'm the janitor here. I get it for free. Well, the series combines laser artwork, music, immersive lighting, and 3D atmospheric effects, with each show lasting 40 minutes to an hour. If you're in that area of the McDonald Planetarium or I think most planetariums are hip to the music and these sort of laser shows. But this one in particular is at www.slsc.org. Check it out. Toronto-based architecture lifestyle photographer Gus Serino, he informed the Rush community about a mural he stumbled upon while on a job at the Toronto Marriott in Markham. As you drive into the building's parking garage, you can see a huge music garage mural featuring colorful renderings of famous musicians, including Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson. And you can check that out on the Rush as a Band website. I think those pictures are on there. That's cool to stumble upon a mural like that. Billboard posted their staff list of the 100 greatest car songs of all time. literally not in the car, but of cars this past week, and Rush's Red Barchetta was included at number 88. Make and Model, the 6-minute epic inspired by a 1973 short story in Road and Track and recorded for Rush's 1981 Moving Pictures album, sketches an entire story set in a dystopian, speed-phobic future in which the singer takes a train to his uncle's country house to joyride illegally in a brilliant red Barchetta from a better vanished time. The Barchetta, which means small boat in Italian, but here refers to a high-performance open-top car, may not be economical, but the song's lyrics are. Fuel economy. This isn't about going for a ride. It's about driving, adrenaline, hot metal and oil, and then suddenly a car chase. Overdrive. The song speeds up as the Barchetta does, and both seem perilously close to spinning out of control. Then in one final twist, the narrator ditches his pursuers and calls it a day, race back to the farm to dream with my uncle by the fireside. That song is so good.
Who else would write that also? Like, can you think of anyone else on earth who would have done? There's nobody that I can think of.
Yeah.
You know, and there are definitely a lot of like car enthusiast musicians. You know, it's not like it was only Neil, but I can't imagine anyone else coming up with that song.
Just reading that, I'm inspired to listen to that song with no vocal tracks.
Really?
Yeah, just to hear that landscape, that sort of palette of music, you know, layered, and that, you know, these lyrics. It's funny because when you think of, because that just listening to that or reading that and then listening in my head, it just you know, it's like, wow, you know, no lyrics there. Like, I'm on that journey with Neil, you know, with the music is carrying me, you know. So that's just some powerful stuff, man. Jeez. Anyway, moving on here as we move forward with Rush news. Most in the Rush community have been following the plight of the iconic Le Studio, the recording studio in Morin Heights, Quebec, where Rush recorded, I should say the legendary Le Studio, the recording studio in Morin Heights, Quebec, where Rush recorded several albums throughout the 80s and 90s, has been recently demolished and cleared. The property sits there sort of dormant with nothing on it and is now for sale for 850,000 Canadian. The studio was built in '72 by recording engineer and producer Andre Perry, Nick Blagona, and Yale Brandeis. In addition to Rush, the studio hosted such legendary acts as The Police, Bee Gees, Chicago, David Bowie, April Wine, Cat Stevens, and many others over the years. Perry sold the studio in '88, and by 2008 it had gone out of business. Since then, the property had steadily deteriorated, culminating in August of 2017 when it was partially destroyed by fire. Despite some half-hearted efforts to rehab the building and property over the years, it was finally demolished and put up for sale earlier this summer, and really, really sad. Well, you know, getting into this next episode, it was sort of, you know, it's the summertime, and Dan and I are busy, and we have families, and we sort of like to take some time off, and like, you know, most of our fans know that we're good for a 1 or 2-parter. This episode may be a 3-parter for a couple of reasons. One is our next guest. If Rush fans can remember, back in the 80s, some of the first Rush videos you might have seen, based on the popularity of moving pictures, were the videos of Limelight, Tom Sawyer, and even Vital Signs at Le Studio. Just those really grainy images of the band playing, but yet, even though the images, it was like total VHS style, totally. Low concept, but for the time innovative, because you're just seeing Rush in their element in the studio, right?
Right.
There's nothing really fake about it or posed about it. Those videos for me, out of the whole catalog, and Dan and I have been exploring Rush videos in recent episodes, those videos for me were some of the most significant of the time for me to get into Rush. I just was so captivated by the band's style, their abilities in the studio and actually seeing the veil lifted over this incredible band. I mean, there's nothing there but just drums, synthesizers, guitars, and they were doing it. And they were almost like superhuman. I mean, those guys, when you look at those videos, the studio videos for those songs, they're like, they're superhuman musicians, man.
All you have to do is show someone the drum break in Tom Sawyer as it appears in that video, and if after that they're still like, oh, I don't know, it's not that good of a drummer, then they have that's brain damage or something. Like there's something wrong with them. They need medical attention at that point. I remember the first time I saw that, and you're a drummer, so you would know better than I would, but you know that second bit where he's doing like the heavy triplets in the middle part in Tom Sawyer. I hope you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I remember seeing that and being like, wow, that's how you do that. Holy shit. And that was, to me, that just opened up a lot of things for me. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure a lot of people, when they saw those videos for the first time, it was their first look at how things are recorded. But I mean, for me, that was especially when I started to really appreciate Neil's playing.
Absolutely. Well, it's definitely for a reason that this episode sort of culminates, or these episodes sort of culminate in our 1 year anniversary, the anniversary of the moving pictures, and the 50th episode. So just be prepared, folks, for anything. I have yet to edit this episode, but just be prepared for an epic episode here. And to reveal the great reveal, these videos are so important, and it was really hard for me to track down the director of these videos. I mean, who does that?
Right.
It's like unearthing. Yeah, it's like exactly. It took me like a long time to get to the person and to actually convince that person to come on the show and say, wow, what you did was really important to a community of people, amid an entire body of work that they've also been known for. It's this small pocket of important stuff that there's this group of people like Rush fans that just want to know more about, and that were really important to them. I mean, the Subdivision video was really important to me. I mean, that's an incredible video. I look at that and it just brings me back to my youth. But anyway, our great reveal is pioneer music video director Bruce Gowers. Bruce is like in his 90s. He lives in LA. He's such a sweet dude, and I think Rush fans are going to really enjoy this show. With regard to the sad removal of the studio and it being so instrumental to Rush's seminal work, Moving Pictures, who better to have on the show than music video pioneer Bruce Gowers? And what better way to celebrate the anniversary of this incredible album? These were the videos that captivated me and my love for Rush, and I'm sure many others. A little backstory on Bruce. He's a British television director and producer, best known for his work on large-scale live music and event productions. He started his career in his native United Kingdom, where his music video for Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody brought him international recognition, leading to his relocation to the U.S. in the late 70s. So in this interview, which I interviewed him several months ago, I've been sort of saving this episode for best for last sort of thing. We went through I had to go through the Bohemian Rhapsody interview.
How could you not?
I know.
That would be malpractice if you didn't do that.
I know.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
We walked through it. I picked it apart. He talked about every element, every thought, but it, and it's not two guys talking Queen, but at the same time, this was important stuff. The video format as an art form, as something that sort of beefed up the marketing for bands was new at that time, and Gowers was right at the beginning of all that. His career includes credits. For live episodes of American Idol, which he directed from its inception, and award shows including the Emmys, the MTV Awards, Billboard Awards, the American Music Awards, event specials including Live Earth, Live 8, and Bill Clinton's inaugural concert at Lincoln Memorial. He was also directed musical specials for Michael Jackson, The Jacksons, the Rolling Stones, Ray Charles, Paul McCartney, Rod Stewart, Britney Spears, Just look at his roster. I mean, it's incredible. And
So
he
it's
was,
like everybody, basically.
dude, and he was so nice to me. I mean, he was so flippin' nice, and I think he was really honored that I dug him up and reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, we appreciate you, and you're really important." So on this episode, which you can watch on YouTube, folks, because I'm going to be talking to Bruce about the visuals of these Rush videos. So depending on how YouTube acts, with clearance and copyright, you may want to just reference the videos, watch them as I'm watching them with Bruce. I'll do my best to get the video out there, but it's just as rich if you're listening to it, because I think any Rush fan knows those videos. And I have a question for Rush fans out there. In Vital Signs, which Bruce Gowers said he did not direct, but it's some of the same footage he captured, so he didn't remember, and I don't know if it's true or not. I suspect he did. Someone else put it together later, but Neil Peart is wearing a chest plate that's plugged in with a 1/4-inch jack to something. If anybody knows what that is, send me an email and just watch Vital Signs. Neil Peart's not wearing it on any of the other videos. The coolest thing about this is that Bruce talked to me about the German Shepherd and it's just like, dude, it's like such a simple, stupid thing, but that was like, it was like lunch, and then Shepherd, boom, and then he leaves, and like we talk about that,
That's great. That's
I know.
fantastic. I have to say also, on a personal note,
yes,
you were extremely tenacious in tracking him down and getting him to be on the show. I have great respect and admiration for all the work you put into it to get him.
Yeah, thanks,
because I would have given up after a while.
Oh, I never give up, dude.
You don't
until someone says, "Fuck you, I'm calling the cops." Then I stop.
Right? Yeah.
No one's done that yet,
Yeah. I want the listeners and everyone to know that you put some work in for sure on this one.
Absolutely.
So
squeaky wheel, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Squeaky wheel. I tell that to everybody. Squeaky wheel. Well, moving on, and we're almost done here. And moving on to Bruce's interview, he discusses his long and industrious career as a pioneer video director, focusing on his time with Rush Atlas Studio for the Limelight and Tom Sawyer videos. This is no joke, folks. This is the studio is renowned for its retreat-like location. I mean, people would go there, and I think Stephen Taylor talked about that recording Presto there. Was it recording Presto or Roll the Bones?
Presto.
Yeah, Presto. How it was, the mosquitoes, obviously, but how beautiful it was. State-of-the-art equipment for the time. It was one of the earliest studios to install solid-state Logic mixing desk and radar digital recording equipment. Getty says it was truly a part of the great Canadian landscape and literally a home away from home for Rush. It will always be a special place in our hearts. Guys, this is going to be an awesome episode. Send me your feedback. The legendary pioneer video director for the Rush videos and several others, Bruce Gowers, on Two Guys Talking Rush. Well, I want to first off say that this show, the podcast, is called Two Guys Talking Rush, but Dan couldn't make it today, my co-host. So it's just
I've got one guy talking.
Well, there's actually two guys, but one guy talking Rush to another guy. Exactly. But I just wanted to say what an honor it is to speak to you. And it's one of those things. I'm an educator. I'm a college professor, and I always get excited about teaching people about new things, especially with media and communications. There's so many pioneers in this industry, in concert industry, in the video industry, the arts, and you are one of those people. You are truly a pioneer of the visual art form of video as it relates to music.
I've never thought of myself as that.
Why not?
I'm just a guy up the street.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, springboarding off of that, where did you grow up? Tell me about the origins of your story and who you are.
I grew up in London, in a little town on the outskirts of London, actually called Enfield. That's about it. And I lived there until I was, 30 odd when I came to the States.
guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys.
Stay tuned for part 2 of the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast next week.